Before we get into the show and introduce today's guest, I would just like to thank United Medical Credit for being sponsors of this podcast and of the Business of Dentistry. As a matter of fact, they have a special offer for Business of Dentistry members, 0% merchant fees for the rest of the year, and 30% discount for life after that. You can get that special deal by either going to docoffinvestments.com and clicking on the deals section, or by going directly to www.unitedmedicalcredit.com/TBOD. Thanks again, UMC.
Welcome to the Dear Doc podcast, where we will discuss the business of running a dental practice with a panel of experts. Now, your host, Dr. Christopher Hoffpower.
Gary, you've joined me today on the Business of Dentistry for a Facebook Live, and you are here to talk a little bit about your experience with Carestack. But first, I would like to know a little bit about your practice. I saw your lovely wife there a little bit earlier, and your two daughters.
Oh no, they actually, I know they got long hair, but they're two boys. They're twin boys.
My apologies.
Yeah, I know. Everyone thinks they're like, oh, when they were small, that was about 4 years ago, and they were like, oh, you have such lovely daughters. I'm like, no, they're good-looking boys.
Completely embarrassed. So I know you're a family man. Tell me a little bit about your practice. Do you practice with your wife? Is she a dentist or not? Talk to me about you.
So I'm the dentist in the family. In fact, it's very strange because there were no doctors in my family, and then suddenly my generation, me and my cousins, they all turned into dentists. So yeah, we have a bunch of dentists in our family. My wife's a nutritionist, so she's actually done her master's in nutrition.
Excellent.
And so I've been working in various aspects of dentistry, from the corporate setting and then the private setting and all of that. And finally, I decided it's time to purchase my own office. So that's what I did about 2020, late 2020 is when I purchased this office.
Time to get an office for a bargain at that point, right?
It was interesting because it actually started in 2019. The whole process started in 2019, and I contacted the bank. They gave me my loan in like 1 week. It was like, here you go, loan's done, let's move. And then March hit, and the whole world stood still, and everything stopped.
Imagine starting a practice. So I actually joined my partners at MB2 in 2019. I started the process. We finished it in February of 2020. The entire world blew up. It was so definitely some big changes there. You know, you're a new practice owner. You've just taken out this loan, and the world grinds to a halt. And they tell you can't practice dentistry.
Well, actually, I didn't sign the papers yet. I was going to, and then I said, freeze on everything, because I don't know what's going on. So just hold it. So that happened. And then when the world opened up again, the banks were like, yeah, we can't lend you the money anymore. Right. So yeah, it was crazy. But then the guy who worked with me from the bank, he was super nice. And he's like, listen, my bank's not going to be, they have all these issues. They're not going to lend you the money. Here's the number to 5 other banks. They will lend it to you. And sure enough, it got done. And by the end, it was ups and downs and ups and downs. And by the end of 2020, I got it done. And yeah, I mean, the real estate, I managed to get the real estate. That was a real bargain, the real estate. And yeah, it worked out for me. So actually, COVID worked out for me because I managed to get the real estate as well.
That's fantastic. So talk to me a little bit about the way that you practice. You're a general practitioner, a cosmetic. What's the scope of your practice?
So I do it all. I do general and cosmetic, and I used to place implants, and I did all of that. Why I say used to, because I haven't over here started in this office. I haven't. So the office I bought was a 40-year-old practice in a smaller town. I always wanted to practice in a smaller town because I like that little town feel. I like to know all the specialists are a phone call away. They're all on text. You can text and talk to all the specialists. All the doctors around are like, they're basically all my patients. So it's so easy to communicate, whether it's an oncologist or whether it's internal. So I wanted that feel. So the practice was 40 years old and very dated when I went in. but the quality of patient there was exceptional. They had very good IQ. They were very intelligent, good people, and they were coming there because the previous guy was just a nice guy. He was good at his work. The staff was fantastic, and he treated them well. So I knew, okay, that's all they want. Anything I bring to the table is just going to be better.
Absolutely.
So I went in, and for about 6 months, I observed it. I learned their systems. I said, I'm not going to go and change everything. Let me learn what works for them. What do these patients want, and what can I deliver to them? And then I realized, okay, now it's time for a change. So they were still doing paper charts and films.
Oh,
I know. Yeah, I know. And
I can see why you were looking for an EHR. I'm actually quite surprised because in 2014, it became mandatory to use electronic health records or you would get fined every year. So I'm guessing he just kind of slipped through the cracks.
I don't know, but I can tell you of at least 3 to 4 offices still down the street from me.
We won't say anything.
I know we won't, but they're doing fine. They're doing fine, and so I said, okay, this has to be the first stage. I got to get a good practice management system, get things in place, get everything electronic, digital, up to date, and then from there I can move on incorporating newer technology, slow and steady. So now the choice came is, what am I going to do? Am I going to go the server route, build a server? Am I going to go cloud-based? And I said, well, listen,
it's not, you don't have the kind of drop ceilings that you do in newer buildings. It's much more difficult to network something like that.
Exactly, because my building was built in the 70s. It's solid stone. Some of those walls have lead in it because that time it was mandatory for all the x-rays and stuff. So some of those have lead. Yep, they got lead in it. And the ceiling is a real ceiling. It's not a false ceiling. It's not someone just pushing tiles up and running wires. Nope, you got this poor guy who came in, and it was Florida weather in the summer, 120 degrees up there, and he's crawling through that basement and pulling wires. But we did it. And the good thing was there was a very good connection between Carestack, my IT team. Everyone worked well. Everyone gave the right.
So as a person who had already used several different EHRs, because you've worked in a lot of different practices and a lot of different dental settings, what actually initially, and I suspect part of it was just the hell of trying to put servers and PCs everywhere, but what initially attracted you to Carestack? Where did you hear about them first, and why did you decide on choosing them?
So at that point, this was just before I bought the practice. I said, okay, now let me start joining a bunch of forums. I know dentistry, but I know nothing about business. I know basic business, but now I got to learn business. So I started joining different forums, and someone told me about a group called Nifty Thrifty. So I joined them, and Carestack was blowing up on them. So I said, let me do some research about this Carestack. And by then I had a bunch of friends, who are all using the standard ones, EagleSoft, OpenDental, all these guys. And, but I wanted to go cloud-based. I thought, if I'm moving forward, I want to be with the latest and the greatest technology. And I feel everything is going to get cloud-based in a few years. So let me start off with, just going cloud-based right now. So I narrowed it down to 2 softwares. And then I started comparing both of them, what do they have, and comparing apples to apples. And then at that time, since COVID hit, a lot of things, people wanted a lot of things through their software, and they were buying third-party software for things like checking in while you're sitting in your car, or maybe something like teledentistry, or something. And then now, I think by the end of this year, patient portals are becoming mandatory. So you got to have a patient portal available. And Carestack already had these things in place, and I didn't have to pay for anything more. It was everything in one product.
I've always thought that was one of their greatest things that they offer, is the fact that it is all under one roof. And frankly, it comes out to be a lot less money going through them as the vendor than it does, picking up this piece of software over here and this one over here. And it gets expensive. I actually had one member of the business of dentistry that was paying $9,000 a month for the various, and that just blew my mind. I was like, you have a whole doctor's salary eaten up, a new grad eaten up by just software licensing fees. This is getting to be ridiculous. We talked about Carestack, and I started promoting them in the business of dentistry.
And exactly, because for me, I'm probably that guy. I'm probably that $9,000 a month guy, because I have this issue that, okay, this thing, this seems like I need this thing. So I'd go to a third party vendor and I'd buy it. And then I'd buy something else and I'd say, okay, let me buy it. And then I'd forget what I have and I won't even use half the things, but I'm still paying for it monthly. And I can't even keep track of half of those things which I'm not using. So I know at the end of the day,
because they all have different GUIs. And so every time you get something new, you have to train your team on something new. And,
exactly.
Getting them to use something that's already integrated, that the training can be streamlined, because every widget in Carestack works in a similar fashion.
Exactly.
One place to get it. So that's pretty cool.
That is cool. So, and they had everything that I needed already in place. So I said, okay, so they had patient portals in place. They had those curbside check-ins. I thought it was cool that they had stuff like kiosks. I can set up little iPads and make my office from suddenly this 1970s office to, whoa, what am I doing? I'm checking in on an iPad, and all of these things impressed my patients. Those small little things. They thought, wow, this is really nice. The changes that you're making. So it worked out for me. I chose the right software. I totally believe, and but there's so much more to it. I'm sure we'll speak about it. The transition, the training, and all of that stuff.
So talk to me a little bit about. Well, first of all, have you gotten to check out their Carestack University yet?
Yeah. So that was a big help, and I feel that is phenomenal what they've done with this Carestack University. That once you start working with them, they start sending you portals. And this was the most interesting thing. When I used to talk to my friends, I said, yeah, I finally am going, digital, and I've got this practice management software. And they're, oh, so when are you starting? I said, no, we have like 3 months of training. And they'd look at me like, what? What do you mean 3 months of training? Like they just gave us.
I'll tell you, I actually, in my first office, I used Dentrix.
Mm-hmm.
In order to get trained in Dentrix, I had to pay someone $5,000.
Wow.
Down to my office and spend a week there and train them. And you get this for free with Carestack. I mean,
exactly.
Your success team. So talk to us, because that's a perfect segue into your experience in setting everything up. So talk to me about ground zero. You've made the decision, you signed the paper, and you say, okay, we're doing Carestack. Talk to me about the process from there forward.
Okay, so it started off probably June last year. So this journey is like probably 1 year old, and we signed the contracts and everything was done. And at that point, then we got someone assigned to us. And I'm a little biased because Carestack is literally 30 minutes from my home. So it's like, it's down the street from me, basically. So we had someone from Florida. We just lucked out, and we had someone assigned to us from Florida, and half their team is based out of India. So another person was assigned from India who did the technical portion, and down here in Florida, they just helped us with onboarding and all of that stuff. So the first stage was they go through our legacy software and they see what we have and what all stuff we want to import and what all stuff we want to change. Now, like I said, we were using SoftDent, but just the basic version. We used to just handle the demographics and
basically.
Basically it was demographics, and it was some amount of keeping tracking of the billing. Not really, we weren't filing anything electronically, but just keeping track of it like a ledger. That's it. And so they started working to figure out what all we need to get moved onto Carestack. And then they did the Carestack University. So we had about, I think, a month and a half of of these trainings, and we'd have to finish them in a week. And then, you'd have like each person, like the assistants would have their certain trainings to be done. And then the hygienists had their things to be done. Front desk had their things, and I had to do all of it. And it's pretty intense. It's not just, it's not like those multiple choice questions that A doesn't look right, B looks right, okay, I'll put B, and it's right. No, these are pretty intense. And they take up some time, but like I said, you get trained before we even go live. You have some idea of what's going on.
Hi, folks. This is Doc Huffpower, founder of the Business of Dentistry and host of the Dear Doc podcast. Before we go any further, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about one of our fine sponsors, Dentamax. Now, I've been able to land a phenomenal deal for all of our TBOD members and our listeners on the Dentamax Dream Sensor. Before I jump into the offer, if you didn't already know, Dentamax offers high-quality dental sensors. They sent me one of their Dream Sensors to try out in my office, and my staff just raved about it. If you're picky about image quality, Dentamax has you covered. When you get your sensor in, a technician will help you by setting it up so that you get clear, concise images all of the time. In fact, they can even set it to mimic a sensor that you had before that you like the image on. All you have to do is share which one it was. It has a tough, durable housing, and it's backed by a 3-year manufacturer warranty, which is one of the longest warranties in the industry. I also like the thin design. With the beveled corners, it makes it easy to place in the patient's mouth, and it's pretty comfortable. Now, I know a lot of you may be worried, will this work with my imaging software? You don't have to worry there. Dentamax has you covered there as well. Dentamax Dream Sensor works with virtually all software. In fact, it's usually plug and play, and you never even have to use a Twain driver. I'm excited to share this special with you because David Ornett, Dentamax's CEO, was willing to give us a really great deal. All of our members can try the Dentamax Dream Sensor for free. That's right. They'll ship it out to you and let you use it for 2 weeks. In fact, they'll even have their technician dial it in on your systems to make sure it looks as good as possible. Now, all you have to do to get this offer is go to dentamax.com/TBOD. But guys, that's not it. Dentamax is going to give you $3,000 off of their retail price, plus a $200 discount above and beyond that, just for being a member of this community. So you can get a size 1 sensor for just $27.99 and a size 2 sensor for $37.99. It's a really great deal on a really great sensor, but you don't have much time to wait because this deal ends on July 4th. So go ahead and go to dentamax.com/TBOD, check out the deal, and celebrate your freedom from high prices. Thanks again, folks. This is Doc Huffpower. Let's get back to the show.
Then in about, I think it was after a month and a half, they did something like called a sandbox, in which they put up the software for us to practice. We could just play around with the software. It wasn't live, but we could fool around with it. And that's the easiest way to learn, is just, start fooling around with that software and doing it yourself. And they give us scenarios. It was all part of the training. Like, okay, patient A has come in and he's got this health problem and that health problem, and put that in the health problems. He has this alert and that allergy, put that in. He's got this problem. He needs an implant here. He needs an extraction here. Okay, let's make a treatment plan. So they'd give us all the scenarios. We'd be doing it in Sandbox. And then weekly, I'd have those calls with these team members from Carestack every week. They'd call to see how we're doing, what help we need. They'd go over our Sandbox and see where we can improve and things like that. So they were very hands-on. They wanted to make sure we were successful when we went live.
Is phenomenal. They're amazing, all of them. And they know the software backward and forward. They're genuinely kind and helpful, which, I mean, that it shouldn't be that big of a deal that a support team is helpful, because, I mean, that's their job, right?
Yep.
What have your experiences been to with other EHRs? Mine have been exactly the polar opposite.
I mean, you'll be lucky if you can actually get someone on the phone. You're on hold for most of the time. And that's another thing with Carestack. You call them and they're pretty responsive. So even now, you can get them on the phone in less than 5 minutes, and you can actually start doing something if there's any issues in the office.
So you've got your weekly calls now. You've just finished your sandbox, and they are at what point now? So finish going forward with this, because I interrupted your process there.
So yeah, so then once that's all done, and once we have a certain amount of months, and they are very realistic about it, and they tell you that okay, we'll do it. I think it's about 3 months, and then I told them let's push it a little further, and then they said okay, we'll do another 2 weeks, and at that point we were ready to go live. Now, mind you, my team had never ever used anything electronic. So this was big for them. So we said, okay, fine. Let the front start first. Let them get everything in place. Let the billing go smoothly. Let checking in and checking out and all of that stuff go smoothly. And once that gets done, then I'll start working on the back, and then I'll start working on putting things in and making them work from the back end of putting in treatment plans and stuff like that. Well, by the time the training was over, everybody was just on day one. Everybody just got on, and there was no back and front, and it was just one day we all went live.
That's so. One of the things that I like about the way that Carestack is designed is that it has a uniform experience. So to call someone out specifically, Dentrix, and I know EagleSoft does this as well as SoftDent and a couple others, but if you talk to someone from the front desk and you say, hey, go to the chart, you'll see them like click 5 buttons and then they can get to the chart. With Carestack, it's chart. And every view in every position of the office is exactly the same, and all the controls are the same. That means if you train an assistant, you promote her to front desk, she already knows how to run everything.
Exactly.
Efficient. There's so many inefficiencies built into traditional dental software that it just makes me go a little bit crazy, because I'm the kind of guy who I actually count the number of times I have to click to get to things.
Get to something. Yep.
I'm pissed.
Yeah. Yep. True. And the beauty of it is we've had a lot of temps. You know how the market is right now. We basically are surviving on temps, temp hygienist, temp assistant, and all kinds of things. Well, when those temps come in, it doesn't take them time at all. They've never used Carestack. Most of them have never used Carestack. And it doesn't take them any time to figure out how to use the software, because it's just so user-friendly.
It really is. It makes sense. So one of my favorite things that I saw, because I went through a lot of the training that you did, because I wanted to know about Carestack before I started talking to people about it. One of the coolest, most unique things I've seen in that versus any other EHR is when you put in your insurance build. When something is treatment planned, it will flick up on the chart with an exclamation point, little red exclamation point. You click it and it'll say, this crown is not covered under their insurance policy. Or that for me was life-changing.
Yeah.
It made sure that as a fee-for-service practice, it's super important that you give accurate quotes to your patients.
Yep.
That was huge for me. What is your favorite feature?
I mean, there's just so much. It's the way that all of that stuff is done for electronically filing. My accounts receivable has dropped. It is like almost nothing. My collections has gone up tremendously. It's just so much easier for my manager to just handle all those things. We still are PPO, so we are like PPO fee for service. So with all those PPOs, we're still calling and we're still wasting all that time with insurance companies over the phone, and those things you can't avoid. But it is streamlined so that it makes it more efficient, and it just makes things so much more easier.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
What I do like, sorry, but before I lose my train of thought, because
go ahead, please,
is going back to Carestack University. Now, when you hire someone new, before they even join you, you can make them do those portals at home. They can learn some amount of that software at home because you've assigned it to them. You've given them a username and a password, and they can go before they even join. So they have some knowledge, and that just makes you look so much more efficient, instead of like, okay, you're hired, come in day one, your busy office, sit there, and then you're yelling at them saying, you don't know how to do this and you don't know how to do that. And doesn't make sense in the modern day world. You can't expect them to.
That doesn't seem like your style anyway, but
No, it's not. I'm very laid back. I'm a very laid back guy. I'm just saying that that's so much of an advantage, that, and you just look like an office that cares, that, you tell them, hey, listen, we got these portals signed up for you, start learning them, going through them on your free time at home. And then when you come in, we've already got your whatever manual set up and things like that. So, what are your jobs and to be done in the office and things like that. You just look more efficient, more modern. These are the things that everyone is looking for.
More professional. People are so
Exactly.
getting thrown into a job in dentistry and having a trial by fire and not having any kind of regimented training. I know that in my practice, we had SOPs for everything. Like I had a book that was probably about 5 inches thick, one of those huge binders.
Yeah.
A position, and you could find every single a crown prep. This is what you need for a crown prep. Here's the place in. These are the things you have to make sure you have in the room. This is how you do it. Down to you start taking the blood pressure when you enter the room. While you're taking the blood pressure, you go and you start your note on the computer. Start your note on the computer, enter the patient's chief complaint, what we're doing, go back to the patient, put topical. By the time that the blood pressure cuff is done, the topical is done too. So you can take time. So I'm super meticulous about that because, like I said earlier, efficiency is super important to me. And I can't imagine going into a workplace myself and not having protocols established for how to do things or good training programs. That just makes that easy because, it took me a good 5 years to accumulate everything. And then you realize you missed something, you have to go back and fix it. It's a process. Carestack makes that process easy for you because it's all right there and done. And the best part is if you request something, I bet you noticed how many new features have popped up since you joined.
Yeah, today I was looking at, I think they've almost got their what's it called? I can't find the right words. My mind isn't working, in which you can send out reviews to your patients and they can and they can send it back.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I use a third party for that, but if it's in Carestack now, that's again money saved right there.
Money back in your pocket, my friend.
Yeah.
Well, Gary, thank you so much for joining us here today on this Facebook Live and for sharing your experience. I always ask, and I know what your answer is in this case. Would you do it again? Would you get Carestack again instead of any of the other EHRs?
Oh yeah, in a heartbeat. Every time that I talk to them, I talk to Jim or Danae is our local rep over here, and she helps us out a lot. In fact, they're even having a conference next month. Things like that. They just want to be part of the people who they work with. They want to know you. They want to learn from you. They want to be a user-centered software in which we give feedback and they improve on it, and they
truly do actually listen to the feedback and fix the problems.
So that's a big thing, and every feature that they keep adding on just seems to make sense to me. So yeah, if you want to open a practice, you want to open practice number 2, practice number 3, you're cloud-based, you don't have to worry about those servers. You can sit in your home and you can see all the analytics going on in all those 3 offices.
Not just that, but if a patient wants to make an appointment, they can check all 3 offices from one portal, find the appointment that is closest to them when they're making it. Let's say they're coming home from work and they want to go and see you at your 3rd location.
Exactly.
Now, some people, a lot of them want to see the same dentist, but a lot of people today just want to get in, get out. They don't really care. I guess we've kind of been trained by corporate practice to not expect the same practitioner, which is
exactly
issue, right?
Yep. Everybody comes in and they see a new face and they just put up with it.
Exactly. So, I think that they've done a really great job with not just the intention of design, but also their implementation and corrections when they find something that is a problem or when some feedback. So if there's something I should have asked about your journey with Carestack that I didn't ask, the floor is yours. I'm going to let you have the last word on this, or if you just want to tell everybody something about Carestack that I didn't think to discuss with you.
Well, the final piece was going live. It took them 2 days. They did it on a weekend. I didn't have any downtime. They did all the transitions on a weekend. And they actually, I was lucky because, like I said, Danae was 20 minutes from my office. She came. That transition to going live was so smooth. We had no hiccups. And that is so important in nowadays, especially if you have a busy office and now you're thinking of switching softwares, you want no hiccups.
I bet you were going in, your stomach was all in butterflies, worried about it. And then you get there and it was completely seamless. That must have been the best damn feeling ever.
That's it. That's money well spent right there. I mean, you can't beat that. And just the team, everybody's helpful, everybody listens. Nobody's just selling you a product. They're selling you an idea which they want to grow and make it big. And I truly, and this is another thing. I went for a seminar in Denver a month ago. It was a breakaway seminar. And I'm sitting over there and I'm talking to the guy at the side of me. I'm like, what software do you use? And he's like, Carestack. I was like, oh. Talk to the guy behind me in Ohio. I'm like, what software do you use? He's like, Carestack. I was like, wow. Like a year ago, not many people knew about Carestack, but now I truly feel that's the next big thing.
Well, thank you for coming on. Folks, thank you for giving us some of your time and listening to this. And if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them down below and we'll answer them as we see them. But for now, we're going to sign off. Have a fantastic day, and give Carestack a try. If you're ever thinking about switching EHRs, or if you're just tired of being nickel and dimed by all of these software companies, think about making a switch. Reach out to them. Talking to them doesn't hurt, and who knows, you might find a solution to your problem. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
Hey guys, this is Doc Huffpower, founder of the Business of Dentistry and host of the Dear Doc podcast. Today, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about one of our sponsors. 4G Dental Labs has been a sponsor of the Business of Dentistry for over 2 years now. They're a family-owned business located here in Houston, Texas. They're fast, they're reliable, but best of all, they provide affordable quality. They're just plain, honest, good people. For our TBOD members, for your first 20 crowns, every fifth one will be free. Contact 4G Dental Labs at 833-682-8901. Again, that's 833-682-8901. Or you can mail or even just stop by. Jeff Guidey, the owner, would be glad to see you.
Thanks for listening to the Dear Doc podcast, your source for the business and legal questions associated with your dental practice. Don't forget to subscribe to the Dear Doc podcast on all major platforms.